Glad everybody could make it in the morning. Not everybody sitting at drinking at parties. So sitting here basically at LeWeb in London, I suggest that you remember two words from my presentation, and it's socially devoted. And what is socially devoted? It's a new standard of customer care in social media. And it's a new definition that we'll be announcing today, and we'll be walking you through it. So if we look at social media marketing, it's been mostly about broadcasting. Companies have been sending information out, tweeting out to their friends, so Facebook posting out there, and have been proactively sending messages. But it's not only about sending it proactively, it's also about reacting. So we believe this is a social 2.0. It's a new status of the industry, and it's something that 70% of all the companies in social media are actually missing. Most of the presentation out there that you'll hear at LeWeb or at conferences in general, and I've been to about 25 conferences in the last year, it's about how to make money, how to make more money, how to make it faster, better. This presentation is not about making money. It's about not losing money. It's about the opportunity cost that it costs you to not do what I'm going to be presenting about. To introduce myself a little bit, I'm the CEO of Socialbakers, a social statistics platform. We're a go-to destination for marketers that marketers search when they're looking for social statistics. And we have offices in about 5 countries and a team of 115 people working for our company. Marketing has been evolving, let's just say it. It started with TV, 1, 2, 3 channels, radio, obviously started with radio first. And it's been very basic in the beginning. Customers didn't have much of a choice to select content. When web came on board, when cable TV came on board, the customer became more and more demanding, wanting faster communication. But the customer has evolved faster than the companies. And even though social media profiles of companies are out there, most of the companies today are in social media. I think eMarketer says 80 or 90% of companies are in social media. Only 30% of them are actually doing it correctly. So how to define that? What do I mean by correctly? So when I talk about social relation and customer care in social media, what I mean by that is when a customer comes to your Facebook page, comes to your Twitter profile, and tweets something to you, or sends you a wall post. The study that we've done for the purpose of this presentation, and the study that we're launching today, is focused around Facebook. But we're dedicated to create it for other platforms as well, and open it up. So define socially devoted a little better. What does actually the word devoted mean? It's an act of devoting time and energy to something. And social, we all know, that's about people. So devoting time and energy to people, to your fans, that's a very important thing in social media marketing. That's what it's about. So we started this manifest, and we hope that the industry will start contributing to it. And we basically say it's part of 3 things. To be socially devoted, you have to open yourselves. You have to open up your walls for comments. You have to be open as a company about issues, about even negative issues. You have to respond to fan questions, and you have to communicate in a timely fashion. When we're going to be talking about this topic on Twitter, we use the socially devoted hashtag, and it's being launched as we speak. So I wouldn't want to suggest a tweet about that, but you can, obviously. So one more time, just to be sure. First, opening yourselves, making sure your companies are opened profiles. You'd be surprised how many companies actually have closed profiles. I'll get to that. Responding to your fan questions. We say at least 65 to 75% of questions should be responded in social media. The original manifest is actually 65. The presentation is a little more positive with that. Communicating in a timely fashion. Trying to communicate quickly with your customers is key, not communicating in 24 hours, which is, by the way, the industry standard is like 28 hours. Who wants to wait 28 hours for a response for a comment? Would you as a customer like to come into a shop and wait for 24 hours or 28 hours to get a coffee. You know, it's like you coming into a shop and the store seller is just sitting there drinking his coffee, not looking at you. You know, you're trying to buy something. So when the people in social media try and buy something off of you, you go and help them, right? So a couple case studies about companies and how they've been doing social media and how they've been socially devoted. So one of the actually two best companies in the world is Claro, and this is in a mobile operator in South America. They've been responding 97% to all of their fan questions. And this is not 100 questions, this is not 200. This is like 10,000 questions. So it's quite a lot. They do it around the clock, 24/7. And they respond on average in like 19 minutes. And 60% of the comments in under 10 minutes. That's amazing in terms of statistics. If we look at the right, there's like a small industry chart. And I'm going to get back to that one. But car companies are actually, technically speaking, services companies. I mean, you buy a car from them and then they're going to service, you know, charge you a lot for service, for overpriced official parts and stuff like that. And if we look at the response rates of questions on car companies, they respond 17%, only 17% of all the questions. And those might be questions like, hey, you know, I have problems with my stick neck, my headrest is bothering me. The car company could respond, hey, this is a solution for, you know, you can buy this official part, and it's done. And this is not one car company, I don't want to be talking about one. This is consistently the car company industry that's really, you know, not devoted to their customers. I mean, they're devoted, but they're just not ready yet. What do these companies, these 6 companies have in common? What do you think these companies did in social media or didn't do in social media? They have exactly one thing in common. They have one thing in common. They all have the same amount of user wall posts every month, which is 0. Because they close their walls to their fan questions. I mean, what are you afraid of? Is Disney afraid of that, you know, 13-year-old or 11-year-olds that call themselves 13-year-olds go to their Facebook page and are going to brag about Disney? Or what are the companies afraid of, really? And we look at actually 2 Microsoft companies, sort of products in this list, Xbox and Skype in this case. Is that a policy to have their wall closed? I actually looked at 5 other Microsoft pages, all closed. Probably a policy. McDonald's, American Express, British Airways, services industries, services businesses. Why on earth would British Airways have a closed wall? I mean, they're talking about how social they are, how they're going to get iPads and they're going to tweet to their customers right from the plane, but they don't do a basic. They don't open their wall on Facebook to user feedback. And as KLM called it, that was their #1 customer care channel during the ash cloud crisis when people were stranded, you know, and couldn't fly. But to not only talk about how we can lose business, because we all know that if a customer is angry and if he doesn't get a response, that can really harm your business. But also, Vodafone UK has been doing quite a good social presence. So they've been managing all their social channels, even web, even forums. And not only did they have a lower amount of people contacting them through traditional channels, like the web or like calling, which is more expensive for them, so they saved money. They actually made revenue in upsells worth £1 million a year. They made money on being socially devoted as a company. So definitely write that down. Like, everybody's writing that down. That's good. And one more thing. We actually have a client, in one of our bigger clients in Turkey, and they were not socially devoted. They were not the ideal company to respond to their fans, but we had a nice presentation and they decided that they're going to be socially devoted. So we thought the company would start basically to start a process, talk to the executives, talk to the team, and maybe in a couple of weeks they'd be socially devoted to their customers. But what happened was we just said, okay, the person stood up and let's go see the CMO. So we went to see the CMO. CMO said, sure, that's a good idea. Let's call the entire team in, customer care. Let's call everybody in. So we called all the departments in, made a are you ready to make a presentation, Jan? I'm like, oh, okay. So made a presentation to the customer care teams and other teams, and suddenly, come the morning, they had a 90% response rate in social networks. That's being socially devoted. Now, just not to talk about brands, there's small companies as well. Socialbakers ourselves, we've looked at our own profiles internally, and we were very shy because we had only a 50% response rate to our fans. And those were even questions like, what kind of services do you offer? We just missed those. And I mean, how can a social media company really not respond enough of its fans? Even that's something we have to increase and we have to make better. So having a personal touch in social media marketing is critical. I mean, I've read this article the other day about social media IVR, which IVR is about, when you call, it just says, for English, press 1, and it just continues to automate your calling. That somebody's trying to automate social media responses robotically. I thought social media was about people, about responses. You can't really automate the responses to people. So please, don't do that. Be personal, be human. So what Socialbakers has done and what we're launching today, because ultimately to be socially devoted as companies, you also have to measure yourselves. We made a ranking out of companies and industry categorization. So we found out that, most importantly, and this is probably the bottom line to remember, 70% of all fan questions go unresponded. That's a huge opportunity. Customers calling, not getting a response. I mean, we do communication and marketing to get interest by people. And when you get that interest, 70% unresponded interest. That's bad. If we look at the industries, there's definitely hope. Some industries like telecom or airlines, 55 to 60% response rates. That's getting a lot better. That's getting to a better point. But then we see automobile companies, 17%. And I don't blame media or I don't blame FMCG companies for not responding. This is just an analysis. So I don't think media companies need to necessarily respond. And FMCG is not necessarily a services category. They should be communicative, not necessarily responding. But fashion, electronics, retail, finance should not be responding like 20, 30, 40% of fan questions. That should be 100. This is the top list of socially devoted companies in the world that we created. What you can probably see is that actually like 3 or 4 of these top 5 brands are South American companies. And I think 3 of them are mobile operators. And the funny thing is they're responding, we organized all the lists by the number of answers that they're giving to their fans, because we found that could be the only thing that could be fair. Because you could have somebody responding 95%, 99% with only 100 questions, right? So this is the list of the top companies. We also made a list of the bottom companies. So you can see that actually the top number of unanswered questions for the top companies, the same amount that it is for the other companies. And you can see eBay on the list with 8,500 unresponded questions. I would say eBay is a services industry. And they should respond to their fans. And just to mention here, the industry benchmark for responding is 2,079 minutes. That's, if a company responds, it takes them 2,079 minutes. It's about 28 hours that I mentioned. So today we're launching sociallydevoted.com. Find it on socially-devoted.com, or I think it's live on our homepage on socialbakers.com as well. I wouldn't suggest you tweet about it again, but be happy you would. What you can find there is the manifest. If you click on more details, you can load that, you can copy that out. You can help extend the manifest. Please send us suggestions. You can find the list of the most socially devoted companies in the world. And you can find rankings of the industries as well in the article that's just been launched that I showed you earlier. So what have we learned today? We've learned to define what a socially devoted company looks like. We've learned that not all companies are fully social. and are socially devoted. And we've learned what you can do next. Basically, come Thursday, tomorrow, and you come in your office, there's something you can change. If you're a brand or an agency, I'm sure you can do something about that. And for us, we've built this as a starting point. We invite the industry to start talking about that. We've built it because we have all the data. We analyze this for hundreds of brands. And brands use our service to actually see if they are socially devoted. What are their response rates? What are their response times? What are the competitions? So they can all see that in our dashboard. That's why they use us as a company. So to become socially devoted, one of the many steps you have to take is social analytics. So maybe instead of clapping today, you can tweet about it. But no more suggestions about that. But with that, I'd like to thank you very much and become socially devoted a little more.